What's up, Bonnet family? Mike Lindsley back with you for an ML Sports Take, all brought to you by our good friends at Stanley Law Offices and Welch and Company Jewelers. So something that came up in the interview with JP Butler was how, and JP said it when I brought up, the NIT, and if you're not going to go to the NIT, and again, I understand the situation, the portal, the NIL, the challenges, all the balls in the air. I understand the climate. I get it. If people are going to post and say, well, hey, there's this, I know what we're dealing with. I get it. But it was brought up, hey, if you're not going to play in the NIT because of all these circumstances, players saying no, players in the portal, players injured, the AD doesn't want to, Mark Schmidt taking the temperature of the room and feels like, okay, well, I can't send walk-ons to go get blown out by a Villanova or whoever else, or I can't even field a really good roster even if I have a Charles Pride and a Semvis and, I don't know, Phil Brown. I'm going to have 4, 5, 6 guys who are completely inferior to another team, whether it's Nova or someone else in the NIT. So let's just bag it, have the conversation, and boom, we make the decision. And then Mark Schmidt is all over the place recruiting immediately, going in, trying to find portal kids and all this stuff from one coast to the other. Fine, whatever it is, up and down the East Coast, wherever he goes, the second he goes, he can go and travel and boom and get his thing going, and you avoid the blowout, you avoid expenses, you avoid all that kind of stuff. The problem I have in terms of like coming to an understanding with this, whether it's the climate or not, or it's a give up or not, and I'm not saying it was full throttle give up, but there had to have been at least a little bit of give up, right? I mean, come on. I mean, you're in a player only room. And again, we haven't heard from Mark, so I don't know. And I do trust him and when he talks, and I think he's a very honest man and a very honest head coach, but we haven't heard from him. I mean, he doesn't use social media. He didn't do a news conference or a presser type of a thing or a news, a statement right after that players only meeting that JP alluded to, the team meeting. So we haven't heard from him. So I don't know, but I mean, there had to have been at least a little give up, right? I mean, there was at least okay, give up / temperature of the room to be like, all right, well, Luke, your portal, Martinez, your portal, let's start counting the apples here, right? And pulling them out of the basket, right? Martinez portal, Luke portal, Evans portal. We know probably at that point, you probably knew Venning in a few days was going to be portal. So let's say pluck him, I'm assuming, but come on. So you pluck Venning. So then who are you left with, right? And you look around and you're like, okay, well, I haven't played the freshman all year. Okay, let's see. I mean, and then, maybe a couple guys said that they didn't want to play. We also don't know that. But let's say that just Mike Adams-Woods was not one of them and he was a pain in the ass all year. Let's just assume that. He was benched, sick at one point. But Adams-Woods was a pain in the ass. That's what JP said in the interview yesterday. Let's just say, for hypothetical, that it was Semvis wanted to play, Pride wanted to play, Banks wanted to play, and Moses wanted to play. And that's all you got. Okay? Then you got to find a fifth guy just to start. And then what do? You throw all the freshmen out there and some walk-ons and just say, okay, let's hope for the best. Don't pass him the ball. This isn't going to work. Or let's say that it was just the former Jan, Pride, and Banks who wanted to play. Okay, let's say it was Banks and Semvis, and Moses who wanted to play. Whatever the case may be, 3 guys, 4 guys, doesn't matter. But it was probably down to that amount, 3 or 4 guys, right? Probably. Okay, maybe there was a little bit, and Schmidt was like, "Oh man, this isn't going to work for me as head coach. I can't put this together. The 5th guy, the 6th guy, 7th guy. I don't even know if I have a 7th guy. Okay, I'm out. Okay, so let's just take all of that into one bowl and put it there. Okay, the NIL, the portal, the challenges, the give up, the partial give up, the Schmidt Manhertz decision, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, it means one thing and one thing only. You're opting out of the NIT so that you don't get an invite to the NIT, which means that there's no decline for the NIT, and the season is just over. And JP brought this up. JP said, well, when I said, well, what the hell are we playing for then? JP said, well, the tournament, and of course we know what the press release said as well, right? We're like, oh, you want to be with all the other teams in the NCAA tournament and this and that and the other thing, and the paraphrasing job that I'm doing right now. Bonnet basketball, the goal is the NCAA tournament. Well, it's unrealistic. That goal is unrealistic. I don't care what any fan or alum says here. It's unrealistic. Bonaventure making the tournament every year, that's for Arizona and Duke and Carolina and Michigan State. You can say that that's the goal. You can say that we want to be with all the Power 5 and Power 6s and the big boys and the constant horizon teams in Missouri Valleys that are threats to win their tournament every year or even get an at-large bid because they win 28, 29 games. When is Bonaventure winning 28 games, right? And how many times, JP alluded to it, and I'm not hating on JP. He was unbelievable. He explains things so well, not demeaning him at all. I'm just bringing up that, it was in our conversation, and he said it as well. I partially agree with the whole thing with, well, look at, they knocked on the door, because they did. That's a fact. JP was right. They knocked on the door. Look at 15, 16, they got hosed. And look at, a couple of years ago, they were 16th in the country, and that was unheard of for a Bonaventure team. And, you think about a couple other times they got close. And the Caputo corner shot, if that goes down. Okay, if it goes down, it didn't go down. How about a couple years ago with the Ironman 5 2.0? They fell apart. They went to the Final Four of the NIT. Some people think it made up for everything. I don't. The NCAA tournament, making it is still a way bigger goal and way bigger achievement than making the NIT Final Four, let's be honest. I still want to play in the NIT, but not when the season starts that way. You got all those guys, you're ranked, this and that and the other, and then you tumble, and then you're in the NIT. If you're having kind of a solid 20-win season, kind of like this year, you're up and down, you're this and that, and you go to the NIT, great. See where I'm going? There's a big difference there. My point is, those things still didn't work in Bonaventure's favor. 15, 16, they get robbed of the tournament berth. The shot from the corner doesn't go down in the A-10 tournament. Look at 2017, 2018. Okay? That was 6 years ago. Look at what St. Bonnie had to do just to get a play-in game. A play-in game, which they didn't deserve. They deserved to, although it was pretty damn fun to be in Dayton and watch them beat UCLA, by the way. My man Matt Motique is watching right now. That UCLA fan tried to pick a fight with me. I had Matt and Owen Gregg with me, though, so I'm pretty confident I would have just stepped away and had them take care of the business. Thanks, guys. But UCLA, that was fun. They beat them, blah, blah, blah. But, what would you rather have if you're Bono? Would you rather be in the field of 64, firmly in, and it be a toss-up to beat somebody you can still win, and then you're maybe around a 32 team. Now you hang up a new banner in the RC. You're fresher, all that sort of thing. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, they made it into the play-in. They were still considered a tournament team. I still hate the field of 68. The play-in, I know they can go on a run. In fact, that same year, Syracuse played in that Dayton region, and they made the Sweet 16. And ended up losing, I think, Michigan State and Detroit. But it was that situation there where you're okay, cool, they won the game, blah, but you're still the other four. You're still the other guys. You're still outside the 64, which was ridiculous. Look at what Bonaventure did in their conference. They won 25 games that year and 14 in the A-10. Oh, my God. And they still got put in a play-in? Do you see where I'm going with this? Everything is always super hard for Bona. You have to hurdle. If a Power 5 mid-level team hurdles 1, we got to hurdle 5. If a Big East team mid-level hurdles 3, we got to hurdle 6. We have to hurdle more. We have to do more. We have to overachieve, and then we still get boned. We get the RPI, huge, unbelievable ranking, and we win our league. We still get screwed. 17, 18. Remember January 24th? It was the start, or I guess a little bit before that, the Rhode Island-Davidson road losses in 17-18. Remember that? Mark Schmidt, I think, around that time, every game is a one-game playoff. Okay. St. Joe's, GW, Mason, Duquesne, St. Louis, Richmond, LaSalle, 16 Rhode Island, Duquesne, VCU, that crazy Davidson game at the RC, 3 overtime. I mean, that game was unreal. St. Louis, Richmond, and then, obviously, Davidson in the A-10. I just counted 13 games in a row. They won 13 in a row when they were 13-6, which was still a solid record, and 3-4 in the A-10, which is but still so much basketball left to play. They won 13 effing games and finished 14-4 and 25-7, and they still got the play-in the tournament. So all these challenges are still against Bonaventure. So when you look at 17-18 that I just talked about, the corner shot that didn't go down, you didn't make the tournament. 15-16 getting highway robbery with the RPI crap, getting left out of the tournament with the politics, the board, Tulsa, Oklahoma, that whole thing. Think about these things. The Ironman 5 2.0 starting strong, boom, and away we go. Oh, wait, kerplunk after they get the ranking, then they go play the NIT, Final Four, great, nice, but still didn't make the tournament and underachieved. What am I alluding to? To say that the NCAA, well, it's tournament or bust, it's Bonaventure, that's our goal every single year. It's not realistic because of what the climate is and who we are and how hard we have to work to get there. So, because of that, Bonaventure, a school like we need something else because we're not going to the tournament every year. We're not Carolina, Duke, Purdue, Arizona, Michigan State, Syracuse, usually a million of these teams. We're not those teams. We're not going to the tournament every year. Kansas, Gonzaga, blah, 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 Illinois. I can go on and on and on. We're not going. You can say that it's the goal. You can say it's tournament or bust. It ain't realistic. Because even in the best years where we've had the best chances, there's something happens. Something happens. The underachieving of the Ironman 2.0, getting screwed with the RPI and winning the league. I can go on and on. The corner shot doesn't go down. One break here, one break there. You can't have a bad loss or two. You lost at home to Canisius. Now that counts for 4 losses. There's always something that happens. And so my point is, if we're not going to make the tournament more than one time every 12 years, which, hello, how many times has Bonaventure made the tournament since the Andrew Nicholson era? How many, ladies and gentlemen? 1. That's 12 years. 12. So what is Bonaventure basketball playing for? A 20-win season? Like, what are we doing? Are we playing to win some games in the A-10 and say that was really cool when we beat LaSalle at home? It was really great when we went on a 3-game win streak against George Mason, Duquesne, and Rhode Island. Are we that, or is that where we are? Jesus, like, what are we playing for? Because last I checked, sports are about competing to the highest possible level. And while you compete, you go through a preseason. You get together as a team. You try to find your way. You go through a regular season in every possible sport. Youth sports, varsity sports, college sports, men and women, amateur, professional, whatever the case may be. As a team, you do these things. You go through the regular season to get to a postseason of some kind. Stanley Cup playoffs, Super Bowl, NCAA tournament. For crying out loud, that's the goal all the time. But if it's always working against us for every possible reason, NIL, portal, all the breaks that didn't go our way that I alluded to, underachieving, being Bonaventure, the challenges that exist, what are we playing for if we're going to opt out no matter what of the NIT because of all these things? And again, I'm not putting full blame on a Mark Schmidt or whatever. It's more of a mix of all this stuff that at the end of the day, it results in we're not playing. That's bullshit. We're not playing. What about Bonaventure? We need these opportunities. We need the opportunity to, okay, you know what? We had a decent year. I love a lot of people like, oh, we won 20 games. Okay, we won 20 games. Great accomplishment. But what happened after that? Nothing. All you're doing is playing a regular season at the highest level of competition, or so you think, with what turns out to be a ton of dysfunction this year between all the nonsense internally that has come out now, Adams, Woods, and all the rest. Players mad. I've heard a ton of stuff about Charles Pride and Schmidt butting heads and all this from some people who are close to Charles. I've heard a bunch of stuff with players who were there the year before, like Banks and Luke, and people and Moses getting mad that these players like Woods and Pride came in, which is funny because those guys were portal players the year before and they got their playing time. Again, this is the world we live in and I understand that. But this is a mix of all this stuff which results in we're good, we're not playing. So what do we do? What do we do? No matter what the circumstances are, we can't make them change the portal date unless they do it themselves. NCAA is the biggest crock of junk that we've ever seen, possibly outside of FIFA. What do we do? Is there something in the beginning of the year where Schmidt says to them, like, hey, the postseason, no matter what, is our goal, period, end of discussion. And I know a lot of people are going to make decisions in this room. I'm here to make sure that you know what it's like to be Bonnies, blah, blah, blah. You can talk them up. I don't know what the answer is. But, what is Bonaventure playing for? a 20-win season and going through the regular season to have zero chance at a postseason competition? I don't know. Think about the NFL playing 17 games and then going to everybody, hey, see ya, we're good. The Kansas City Chiefs are still the Super Bowl champs. Nobody's got a chance to try to take them out. We'll catch you later. We'll see you next season. Could you imagine telling a hockey player with their work ethic, with the preseason and the camps and the 82-game regular season, Lord Stanley, man, you little kid from Saskatchewan, British Columbia, wherever you come from, Toronto, Canadian kids, right? Telling to Sidney Crosby, who's won multiple cups, we're not doing a postseason this year, man. We're good. We're good. Compete at the highest level until the end of the regular season. That's our goal. Did you win a President's Trophy? Bravo. Right? And I understand you need preseason, regular season, team bonding, blah, 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 everything together to get to a postseason. And then that's where your bread is buttered. But like, you play all of these games to get to a point where you can play in a playoff at the highest possible level of competition for your sport. So what is Bonaventure playing for? What are we playing for? To make money for the university? Are we playing to get all of our rocks off for a mid-January game when it's freezing outside at the RC against Duquesne? Are we playing for Big Four supremacy with UB, Canisius, and Niagara, which those games terrify me anyway? Are we playing for the Franciscan Cup against Siena every year? I mean, what are we playing for? Are we playing for neutral site games to have our alum go down and spend a ton of money on hotels, food, booze, apparel, and all that to see them lose to Florida Atlantic? I mean, are we playing for that? I mean, are we playing to get included in tournaments to get steamrolled? I mean, what are we doing? What are we playing for? If there's not going to be a postseason because it's been already noted that, well, if you're not going to make the tournament, then what about, I mean, what's the quick math? What's 351 minus 68? I mean, I guess that's 51, 17, 283, right? What do those programs think? Well, I shouldn't say 283 because then you have the NIT teams. So you take away the NIT. Do they even do the CBI or whatever the hell that other stupid one is? I hated that one from the get-go. That's the 10th place trophy tournament. I don't need that one. Let's just go NIT, right? So, I mean, what about all those other programs? I mean, let's go to the NIT scores. I mean, what are we doing? NIT, I can't find the bracket. I don't care. But, you look at these games right here. I mean, you look at all these teams. So once you subtract the NIT teams, 250-ish teams left? College basketball? What are they doing? Are they saying, hey, NCAA or bust for us too? So we're not going to go to the NIT either if we get asked. Hell with it. I mean, is that what mid-level MAC teams are doing across the board? Like, is that what the MAC's doing? Is that what the MAAC's doing? Is that what the Big Sky's doing? Is that what a Weber State would do if they had a really good year? We got 3 kids in the portal. We have a minor injury. We didn't play our freshmen all year. We're out. We're not playing in anything unless we win our conference tournament or we catch lightning in a bottle. We win 25 games, getting that large, and we get lucky or something. Other than that, we're good. Have a nice day. We're just going to play to beat Montana every year. Right? We're going to play to beat Montana. Conference USA. What happens if Liberty wins 22 games? Have a really good year. They get an invite. Right? Nah, we're good. We're good. We got 2 kids in the portal. We got a kid with a bum ankle. We're good. We're good. Cleveland State. Right? Nah, we're just playing to beat Northern Kentucky every year. That's what we're doing. Right? Like Siena. God, they were awful this year. Whew. Looks like Jerry McNamara is getting that job, by the way. Ryder. Man, we're good. We're good. We're just playing every year to beat, Marist and Manhattan and Canisius. We're just playing a competitive MAC, and then we're good. We're just going to enjoy the offseason. Take care. I don't know, man. I mean, what are the Bonnies playing for? What's to go and have another thrilling regular season game in the RC, to go on the road and beat LaSalle? Go win 20 games, because 20 games is an accomplishment, I think, for Bonna, but by the same token, it means nothing. You know, they talked about the same thing in Central New York this year with Autry. You know, it's like, oh, first year he won 20 games. 20 games isn't the mark anymore. The mark is making the NCAA tournament. Sometimes you make the NCAA tournament and you don't win 20 games. If you want to go based on situation, 20 games is an accomplishment. Yes, Bana, yeah, they underachieved this year. You want to go with the 20-win thing? Be my guest. But at Syracuse, you've sometimes lost. You know, you've won less than 20 games, and you still make the tournament, then you go on a run because you're on the bubble, you get a bid, and then once you're in, anything can happen. And then it doesn't matter if you won 18 if you end up in the Sweet 16 because it matters what happens at the end. But they played to be on the bubble to get into the tournament. And if they didn't, there was the NIT, which isn't where they would want to be. Standard expectations, their standard program standard, whatever you want to say. But again, different worlds. Bana, branding, needs it, money, blah, blah, blah. Again, what happened. And I'm just looking at this like, what are you playing for now? You know, I mean, with the climate and internal things and decision-making and all the things that I've alluded to, like, what are they playing for? I mean, you're not going to make the NCAA tournament every year. So you're just going to go home and be done with it? We'll just accept the transfer portal stuff. We'll accept all the bullshit and we'll be done with it. I mean, maybe it has to come to a point where, like, coaches like Mark have to play everybody by default. Like, I got to play freshmen at least 3 to 5 minutes. You know, I mean, maybe that's one of the solutions here. And I'm going to end soon because I've gone 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like it. I thought I was like 8-10 minutes in, but I'm over 21 minutes. But I'm just going to take a couple of examples in closing. Like, freshmen. Let's just grab any one game. You know, like, what's Bana playing for now? You know, like, out-of-conference double-digit losses to FAU and Auburn. Let's take the win against Rhode Island. It was a 35-point win. Right? Let's go back to that. Let's check the box score. Bonaventure played Martinez played 3 minutes in that game. He entered the portal. Right? Like, DeRose, Ostrom, you know, Bellardinelli. I mean, there were a couple guys who played like 2, 3, and 2 minutes. But if you win a game by 35 points and you're up by like 20 with 5.5 minutes to go, maybe you just have to play all those guys more in order to be like, hey, you know, you're going to get in. And I don't know, man. Like, if we get into a situation where at the end of the year I'll lose all these players, like, I need you to fill out the roster because it's important to be a Bonnie. And maybe you could play here and play in that game and experience some postseason. And you could wait on a decision. I don't know. I mean, sometimes, you know, like, if you achieve something, it does mean that you had a successful season because you're at a different stage than another team. Buffalo Sabres come to mind. They've been pathetic since 2011. Had they made the playoffs this year and lost in the first round, it would have been an accomplishment. You get those playoff games. They missed it by 1 win last year, but you get those playoff games under your belt. You're young with the Krebses and the Paterkas and the Tage Thompsons and the Rasmus Dahlins and the Samuelsons, and, well, he's hurt, but Power. You know, all these young guys. Bo Byram won a Stanley Cup, so he's already done it, but that was a bad example. But, like, all these young guys who UPL, all these guys who haven't experienced it, they made the playoffs. It's an accomplishment. You know, there's different levels of it. If the Chiefs make the playoffs this year, whoop-de-doo in the NFL, right? I don't know. You know, and then you've got a situation where, like, Houston Texans or the Cleveland Browns this year, the way they did it, the way they surprised, the way they made it. Great year. You know, that's not the Buffalo Bills' expectation at this point because they've changed the narrative. They broke the drought. Multiple East Division championships, McDermott, Bean, Josh Allen, the window, blah, blah, blah. They've been on prime time, won on prime time, double-digit wins, fielded great rosters, had their chances, and they've blown it against the Chiefs multiple times. You can also say that everybody has blown it against the Chiefs. You can also credit the Kansas City Chiefs. But, like, unfortunately, sports, one way or the other, whether it's fair or unfair, like, narratives change, and now the Bills, it's like, well, you've got Allen, you've been there, you've knocked on the door, you play the numbers game a bunch of times. If you knock on the door up here 6-7 times, you play the numbers game, just give me one ring, right? Well, Bonaventure, you know, making the NCAA tournament. That's the goal, but they make it once every 12 years. Buffalo Bills have made the playoffs, every year for the last several years. They've at least been in there. They've gotten better. They get and then it's at the point where, okay, now it is championship because of going up and up and up. And I know Bonaventure will never win a championship. Bonaventure will never go to the Final Four. We'll never see that. It's impossible. It might be impossible to go to the damn Sweet 16, to be honest with you, at this point. It really might. My point is, if every year it is impossible to go to the tournament. I mean, folks, it's impossible every year for Power 6 teams, some of the winningest teams in the history of college basketball, to go to the tournament every year. Louisville's in the basement right now. So what does it mean for Bonaventure? Like tournament or bust at Bona? I mean, where's the reality in that? There isn't. They're not going to make the tournament every year. They're not going to make the tournament once every 5 to 7 years. This is one every 10, one every 12. Okay, so what else do we have? Well, apparently now we don't have anything. We have playing in the regular season. ML Sports Take, thanks for watching and listening. Appreciate you all sharing, watching, listening to the JP Butler interview as well. You can go back into archived episodes of the ML Sports Platter on audio version with Apple, Spotify, Google Play, you name it, or my YouTube at ML Sports Platter. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel as well for interviews with Clark Kellogg, Adrian Autry, Seth Greenberg, Martin Biron, Anthony Kasserich, you name it. I'm going to have a ton of videos out this week as well on, the big bracket, the NCAA tournament. We're in the Sweet 16, did a bunch of that yesterday. A little bit on Caitlin Clark as well. They pulled out a nail-biter last night, the start of baseball. Masters coming soon, NHL playoffs, a lot going on right now. So it's not just Bonnie's, it's a lot of different things as well. If you just watch the Bonnie stuff. Trying to cover it all here on the platter. It's all brought to you by our good friends at Welch & Company Jewelers, Stanley Law Offices, and Ken's Auto Detailing. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.